Prophet is addressing Imam Ali, teaching him something. This is what Imam is being forbidden by Rasulullah. Ya Ali, stay away from these things. And this is, inshallah, we are following Amir al-Mu'min, follow Rasulullah, we should stay away from them as well. There are 4 of them. These are the nahi. There's so many things that we're being forbidden from, like, for example, drinking and lying and cheating and deceiving. But these are the 4 that Rasulullah says the consequence of these actions are immediate, instant. When you make a mistake, sometimes Allah gives you time. Doesn't punish you right away. There is a chance of tawbah. Because Allah punish you right away, sometimes we will not survive the punishment of Allah. That's why Imam Zain al-Abidin in Dua Abu Hamza said, Ilahi la tu'addibni bi'uqubatik. Oh Allah, don't punish me. Don't discipline me with your punishment. Don't teach me adab and manners with your azab, because I cannot tolerate it. Dua Kumain, read the meaning of Dua Kumain. Beautiful word of dua. Imam teaching us how to do dua. Allah in Quran says, Ad'u ila Allah, call me. Ud'uni astajib lakum, right? Call me, I'll answer. But how to call him? Imam Ali, look at Dua Kumain as an example. In Dua Kumain, Imam Ali is saying what? He said, Ya Allah, I'm so fragile that I have no ability to tolerate the punishment of this dunya. How can I tolerate and endure the azab of your akhirah? In this dunya, I have a little pain, and I'm screaming, exclaiming, complaining.
Be sure.
So I have no tolerance. But Prophet said to Ali, Ya Ali, there are 4, let's call them sin. Let's call them 4 mistake, that they have instant punishment in dunya.
Allah.
Immediate azab. This is the hadith.
Allah.
قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم في وصيته للإمام علي عليه السلام. This is the wasiyah. This is the word of Prophet to Imam Ali. Ya Ali, أربعة أسرع شيء عقوبة. There are 4 things. أسرع, سريع means fast. أسرع, the fastest. عقوبات, iqab means punishment. These are the actions that have the fastest, the most instant punishment and consequence if you make these mistakes. What are they? رجل أحسنت إلي فكافأك بالإحسان إساءة. The first one is that somebody do ihsan to you. They help you, they support you, they get your hand. Ihsan is to do good. A person who does good to you, فكافأك, you do mukafat, you return the good, isa'a, with the evil. So somebody did you a favor and help you, and instead of being grateful, it's not that you're being ungrateful, because ungrateful, what it means I don't show appreciation. That's bad. But what is worse is that instead of not being even grateful, I do harm to you. You helped me to stand up, now I hit you, and now I'm going to rob you because you helped me stand up.
Allah.
I remember one day I was walking. This happened to me, and this is how it leaves a trauma that it kind of makes your future decision. It impacts it. When the moment I read this, I remember this. There was a construction project. This is not not in US. It was a different place. Let's not again. Please don't ask me where it was. A place. A place.
Unheard.
And in this construction site, it was obvious that there's a labor worker, a simple worker, and the boss was literally physically abusing him. This guy wasn't as big, and he was screaming at him, shouting at him, and even at the point slapped him. He was on the ground kicking him. So I was walking by and I couldn't stay silent. I couldn't be indifferent. I approached him and said, "Stop! What are you doing?" So I literally physically tried to stop and restrain him from hurting the worker. This is the part that, the return the favor part. The labor worker was on the ground. He stood up and he grabbed me by the shoulder and said, "Why you're interfering?" He is my boss, let him do whatever he wants to do. And at that moment, what you can do? So, okay, khair inshallah. The issue is that it was not justifiable. Again, sometimes the father and son, sometimes, it's something that you don't want to interfere as a family issues, or even then I wouldn't interfere if you don't have a right to do zulm to your family, even, in my opinion. But at that point, it was none of that. It was obvious. It was a business relationship. There's no, haqq of, walidain and children. Is none of that. But that person, he returned my at least attempted kindness with saying that, okay, you shouldn't interfere. Why? Maybe, again, he needed the job. Maybe he wanted to change his boss's mind. I don't mind. Again, that people, when they're under distress, they do things. But what that did to me is that next time when I see the similar instant, I think twice. It's a good thing to stand against zulm, but now because of that action, I'm thinking twice. So it kind of affected the reoccurrence of good deeds from my end. It did affect it. So when somebody do ihsan to you, Prophet said, and instead of returning their ihsan with ihsan, Hal jaza'ul ihsan illa al-ihsan, Quran says in Surah Rahman, that's not being, the mu'min and high level of iman, that's being decent. That's being average. Hal jaza'ul ihsan illa al-ihsan, is the return of kindness anything but kindness? Is not a valid question, it's a rhetorical question. And the answer is, of course, it's obvious. But to go further than that and don't even show ihsan and you do zulm instead, that's sariyul ghaban. Example, you help someone, you co-sign, you help them to get a loan, you help them buy a car, and they don't make payments. You did the ihsan. To do, lack of gratitude and shukr is to make payment and don't even say, oh, thank you for, by the way, co-signing for me. That's lack of, shukr. But to do isa'at, to do evil is that, okay, you signed for me, you loser, you have to make the payment yourself. If you don't make it, your credit is going to go back. I don't care. It's a disaster when we stop the chain of khair. Somebody give you qarz, a loan, qarzul hasana. This is a qarz, as you know, is 18 times the thawab of sadaqah. Sadaqah has 10 times. Qarzul hasana, the loan without interest, is 18 times. Why? Because you make the idea that you don't want to make people dependable. Qarz is that, okay, they're going to, inshallah, be active enough to repay. Sadaqah doesn't come back. So qarzul hasana is better and highly recommended to do. But let's say somebody did give qarzul hasana and then you don't repay. You put them under pressure until a point that they say, I made a mistake, and next time that I'm going to give qarzul hasana, I change my mind because it's not qarzul hasana. It's gone. Nobody return the qarzul hasana. It's qarz for a reason. And the example goes on. Anyone who did you a favor. I give example. You were in Pakistan, Iran, Afghanistan. Your spouse got married to you, and now you're in the US. This is ihsan because a lot of financial situation was not provided. This is ihsan. Or the other way around, your husband brought you here. And suddenly you come here, immediately as soon as you figure out things, the first one is stabbed in the back is the wife or the husband. And this is not physical. I saw his eyes wide open. Not a physical stab, it means you betrayed him. I look at his eyes wide open.
You have a good experience.
It's about, it's the idea that you betrayed him. It's okay, you did me a favor, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to put you in trouble. Prophet said this has immediate azab and iqab and consequences. The second one, وَرَجُلٌ لَا تَبْغِي عَلَيْهِ وَهُوَ يَبْغِي عَلَيْكَ. A person that you don't do injustice to them, but they go out of their way to do injustice to you. They initiate the zulm against you. Like sometimes you're minding your own business and somebody come and slap you. Sometimes, again, there is a reason. There's an accident, somebody speed up, there's road rage. Still not justifiable, but again, there was a reason that you were provoked. But sometimes you have nothing to do with it. You did not understand anything, and somebody come do zulm to you. That's the one that is Imam Ali was taught by Prophet that has immediate consequences. That's why Imam Hussein said, final word of Imam to Imam Zainul Abidin was stay away from zulm, iyyaka wa dhulm, especially man la nasara lahu illa Allah. All zulm, all injustice, all oppression is wrong, but the worst kind of zulm is to do it to someone who have no supporter, no one that they can lean on except Allah. You do zulm to someone, they can, fall back and they have a family to help them. There is some way that they can stand up. Still wrong. We're not promoting Robin Hood mentality to steal from the rich and give it to poor because they can't afford it. Stealing is a stealing even from a wealthy guy. But the level of zulm get worse. Let's say somebody has 2 bread, you take 1 bread away, haram. That food is haram. That was stealing, that zulm. Somebody only have 1 loaf of bread and you take that away. That zulm and magnitude is much worse. That's what we're saying. Zulm is zulm, but there is magnitude of it. It's like when you hit a child, an innocent child, is bad, is wrong. If you hit an orphan, then it's much worse. So that's why Imam Ali alayhi salam was taught by Prophet, the one that has asra'u shay'in uqubatan, the second one, is that if you don't initiate anything and you do zulm, but somebody who had nothing to do with you. وَرَجُلٌ عَاهَدْتَهُ عَلَىٰ أَمْرٍ فَوَفَيْتَ لَهُ وَغَدَرَ بِكَ. The third punishment, immediate punishment, is for the one that you make an ahd, a pact, a promise, a covenant. You keep your end of bargain and the other doesn't. That's the one has immediate azab. You make a promise, you make an ahd, and then one side betrays. And marriage is an example. The poor husband keeping his end and the wife betrayed. The poor wife ends her end of because aqd, what is aqd? Aqd is a contract. In Islamic language, aqd is a contract, is an agreement. But it's an agreement between you and that person, and the witness is Allah. Right? Allah is the witness.
Very sure.
And when you don't keep your end of the bargain, that's the khiyanat. You make a promise, and now go to any other, your partner in business. In life, sometimes we need partners. I've heard so many times that people, because they had an issue, they have a dispute with their partner, their associate in business, they come to the point that, having a sharik is always wrong. And they have the saying that if sharik was good, Allah would have had one. But in reality, life is about sharakat sometimes. Our imam did sharakat with people. They kept their end. But when you betray that trust to somebody who trusted you, your associate, your partner, then you're coming and asking Allah for an immediate punishment. Why Allah punish these sins immediately? I say at the end. And the last one, Imam said, وَرَجُلٌ وَصَلَ قَرَابَتَهُ فَقَطَعُوهُ. The first action that has an immediate consequences, Prophet said, is a person who reach out to his or her families to do silay rahim, to connect with them, فَقَطَعُوهُ, but they cut off. You go to their door and they shut the door on your face. You call them, they decline your call. Somebody tried to connect and do silay rahim, but the other side is refusing. These are the things that Prophet said lead to immediate punishment. Why is that? Because if you look at all 4 of them, your sin is not just personal anymore. Your sin has a wider impact. There is, we call, collateral damage. With the sin that has collateral damage. Why? Because as I said, if you do silay rahim, if somebody come and you shut the door, what happened? You're discouraging that person from doing silay rahim. Because we have, something called honor, izzat. And once you shut the door and somebody try to reach out, somebody's apologizing and you don't accept their apology, that is izzat. And once you are hurting, damaging their integrity and izzat, they're going to be discouraged from doing it anymore. Same thing with the ahad, payman, pact, promise. Somebody made the promise, and now you betray them. What happened to this person? They become suspicious. From now on, you did commit a sin, yes, but you pass down negativity, that's sayyi'ah to that person as well. From that moment on, that person would be a more negative person. He or she will not trust anymore. That's why it's a divorce is the most disliked halal of Allah. Why is it? Because once you're divorced, whatever you did to one another, that you leave. Again, there are studies about this, that the people who were divorced for once, the rate of divorce in the second marriage is still is higher than other people. It's not that, oh, you learn your lesson, you're not going to make the same mistake. Still is higher. Why is it? Because now you left a mark on them, a suspicion that wherever they go to the next family and the next marriage, they're going to take with them. And you're responsible for the part you left on them. The same way, if you touch people's life in a positive way, we have the hadith. If you teach somebody one word, if you teach them Quran, as long as they're alive and recite it, you benefit from it because you touch them in a good way, in a sense of you taught them something. You touched their lives positively. You affected and impacted positively. Also negatively true. I misguided someone. I misguided them. I said something that they doubted their faith. I said something that affected the relationship with their wife or husband. As long as that damage is going to grow, I'm responsible. That's Allah's justice. That's idalat.
Sure.
You can't just walk away from a disaster and wash your hands and say, oh, it's just collateral damage. Maybe in the politics they do that. People were killed in Afghanistan, children, it was collateral damage, move on. But in Allah's system, there's no collateral damage.
Sure.
فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ. A particle of good and evil will be seen by God, will come to account by Allah. May Allah inshallah protect us against azab of dunya and akhirah. Ya Allah, we don't have ability to endure your punishment in dunya and akhirah. Somebody was praying that, Ya Allah, punish me in dunya, not akhirah. Imam Zain Abidin Sahib, and told him, why you're praying for your halakat? Why you want to be destroyed? So, Ya Allah, I can't, Ya Rasulullah, I think it was either prophet or one of the imams, let's say one of the ma'asumin. And Ma'asum alayhi salam told him, what do you mean that you cannot tolerate the punishment of akhirah, but you ask for dunya? You cannot tolerate punishment of Allah in dunya either. Look at Fir'aun. Was he able to endure the punishment of Allah in dunya? Look at Nimrud. With a mosquito, Allah punished him. Look at the example of Nuh alayhi salam, Lut alayhi salam. So he said, what should I do instead? And Ma'asum alayhi salam told him, instead say, Ya Allah, have mercy on me in dunya and akhirah. May Allah have mercy on all of us and protect us against deviance, against misguidance. May Allah grant all of us sa'adat of dunya and akhirah. And may Allah give us the tawfiq to follow the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt, which is the teaching of the Prophet, which is the teaching of the Holy Quran, inshallah. Let's conclude with the salam to Hazrat Fatima Zahra. Why Hazrat Fatima Zahra? Because Hazrat Ma'asuma Salamullah alayha, it was named after Hazrat Fatima. That's the first. Second, she has a lot of similarities to Hazrat Fatima because she lost her father similar to Hazrat Fatima. And also, she was attacked because when she came to visit her brother, Imam Rizal on her way in the city of Sawa, there were brothers of Hazrat Masuma with her. There were some family members, relatives with her. And they were ambushed, and all the brothers and all the men of the caravan were killed. So I've heard Musibah of Hazrat Masuma, and they said, quickly connected to the Musibah of Hazrat Fatima. But don't forget that Hazrat Masuma, she only lived 17 days in the city of Qom. It wasn't that long. Because she witnessed the tragedy. Imagine you come with your relatives, brothers, family members, and now you see one by one in front of you, they're being martyred and killed. So she asked, do you know where the city of Qom is? I said, there's a few farsakh, some kilometers away. And she asked to take me to the city of Qom. And when she was brought to the city of Qom, she settled in a house of Musa ibn Khazraj, a well-known mu'min of the city of and she provided a place for Hazrat Ma'suman to settle with comfort without any disturbance. And after 17 days, she passed away. And some say that she was poisoned in that journey as well, because Ma'mun, one of the master plan of the book of Bani Abbas is poisoning, because it was much easier to get away with it. And natural death, it's some say wafat, some say shahada. Regardless, she was 28 years old. It's not that somebody dies from a natural causes at that age. It was either that, when she saw, the same way Hazrat Zainab, the same way Hazrat Sakina, they didn't live long after Karbala, after Ashura. Hazrat Ma'suma didn't live long after her brothers and her family were slaughtered in front of her. Let's say something to Hazrat Zahra. May Allah, inshallah, by the honor of Fatima Zahra, which she is Bid'atul Tahira, the beloved of Prophet, grant all of us, inshallah, the tawfiq of ziyarah of Rasulullah, ziyarat of Hazrat Fatima Ma'suma, inshallah. Assalamu alayki ya mawlatana, ya Fatima Zahra, ya bint Muhammad, ya qurrat ayn al-Rasul, يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله، وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيهة عند الله، اشفعي لنا عند الله يا وجيهة عند الله، اشفعي لنا. Similar to Hazrat Zainab, once Hazrat Ma'suma started her journey, there were family members, there were mahram around her. Made sure no one dared to look at her in the wrong way. But once she approached Sawa, which is a city on the way toward Maru, Imam Raza was in the city of Maru by the order of Ma'mun. And by the way, Imam Raza wasn't in Mashhad at the time. Maru is a city right now, is in Turkmenistan. That was the capital of Ma'mun at the time. So Hazrat Ma'suma, there was a relationship between Hazrat Ma'suma and Hazrat Reza alayhi salam, because when Musa ibn Ja'far was martyred, Hazrat Ma'suma was 10 years old. So the one who raised her was Imam Reza alayhi salam. It's so important to learn from the Ahlul Bayt about the relationship with your family. I tell married couples that if you don't want your husband or your wife to be related to their family, to their siblings, you're impacting the relationship they have with you, because these are the people they live for their entire life, and suddenly now you want suddenly to put them aside and delete them. How fast it would be that kind of a person to delete you also from their lives. Yes, there should be balance and everything, there should be priority. But the beauty of the relationship between Hazrat Ma'suma and Imam Raza is that she came all the way toward Khurasan to visit her brother and also her Imam Raza alayhi salam. But once they left Medina, there were all the brothers, all the relatives around her. Like Zainab, when she left Medina, there was Ali Akbar, there was Abbas alayhi salam, there were brothers, there were children of brothers around Hazrat Zainab. But after the ambush in the city of Sawa, and she was escorted to city of now Hazrat Ma'suma has no one, she's alone. And we have that for 17 days, all she did was she was worshiping, she was praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But even if you're surrounded by all the people in the world, if your family is not around you, you're gharib. The same way Imam Raza alayhi salam, we call him gharib al-ghuraba. Why we call him gharib al-ghuraba? If Imam Hassan has no ziyarah till this day, but Imam Raza is surrounded by his muhibbeen, because she left city of Medina. Imam Rizal left city of Medina without family members. He was alone at the time of Shahada. That's the Qurbat. And Hazrat Ma'asuma, on the final moment, she made the wasiyah that her final word was to be buried. And we have that she asked for proper kafan, proper burial. But how can we talk about burial and kafan and don't remember Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam? La yawm ka yawmika ya Abu Abdullah. When Zainab salamullah alayha said the final farewell to Abu Abdullah Hussein, yes, Hazrat Zainab saw Imam Hussein. They were together. But Hazrat Ma'asuma was far away from Marwan, from Imam Raza alayhi salam, her brother. But at least Hazrat Ma'asuma did not witness the cruel and the most difficult moment is for a family, for a sister to see her brother on the ground. That's why in the final wida and farewell, Imam Hussein looked at Zainab and said, my sister Zainab, don't cry right now. He looked at Sakina, he looked at Rubab, look at the family and Ahlul Bayt and said, my beloveds, don't cry. There's so much to come on your way. There's so much musibah coming your way. Ista'iddu lil bala. Prepare yourself for calamities to befall you. And Imam alayhi salam left toward the battle. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, suddenly he felt that his horse is not moving. Zuljana, why you're not moving forward? And he looked down and he saw his daughter Sakina is holding the feet of the horse. And he said, my father Hussein, when Muslim ibn Aqi's daughter, you heard the news that Muslim was martyred and she is yatim now. You embraced her, you hugged her, you comforted her. Would you not do the same for your own daughter, my beloved father? So Abu Abdullah came up from the horse. He sat down and put Hazrat Sakina on his lap and said, my beloved Sakina, don't worry, Allah is with you. Remember that no matter what happens, stay with your Aunt Zainab in every step of the way. Abu Abdullah comforted, kissed her, and for the last time he started to go toward the battle. And suddenly from behind, he heard the voice of Zainab. Mahlan, Mahla, ya ibn al-Zahra. My dear Hussein, walk a bit slower. I want to catch up with you. I want to see you. What happened, my sister Zainab? Let me for the last time kiss you, my brother Hussein. And after kissing, he said, I have one last favor, my brother Hussein. What is it? Can I kiss your throat for the last time? My sister, why you want to kiss my throat? He said, I saw what happened to every shaheed that you brought us back. Let me kiss you for the last time. And Abu Abdullah, for the last time, he went to the battle. But we have that when he fell from the horse and he opened his eyes and he saw Shim sitting on his chest, he looked and he saw Zainab watching from Talla Zainabiyya. Ya Abu Abdullah Mu'minin, this is the final days of the months of Safar is gone. The Muharram and Safar, we did the Musibah of Abu Abdullah. For the last time, Hussein looked and saw Zainab. The eyes of Zainab is looking at the eyes of Abu Abdullah. Hussein looked at her and said, my sister Zainab, irji'i, return my sister Zainab. You shouldn't see this. But for 40 days, Zainab saw the head of Abu Abdullah at the spear. على لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Ya Allah, don't make this Muharram, this Safar, the last Muharram and Safar of our lives, accept our a'mal, our efforts in the month of Muharram and Safar, and make it to be, inshallah, a resource, a saving for our dunya and akhirah. By the honor of Hazrat Fatima Islamic, all those who are marees, all those who requested dua, answer them with immediate relief and immediate shifa. By the honor of Hazrat Islamic, by the honor of Abu Abdullah, saying from these majalis, from these programs, send a thawab, a gift to the soul of all participant. Also for Marhum Mirza Muhammad Ibn Mirza Muhammad Asghar, Kishwar Jahan, Mirza Ahmad Hussein, Inayat Reza Rizwi, Inayat Hussein Rizwi, Iqbal Jahan, Sayyid Surur Fatima bint Sayyid Wasi Bilgrami, and all the other marhumin who sponsored the majalis and who are volunteering the majalis of Ahlul Bayt. اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا ولوالدي والدينا ولمن له حق علينا ولجميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات. May Allah hasten in return of Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wal Zaman. This inshallah